大怪盗アルセーヌ・ルパンが残した不思議な宝物ルパンコレクションがギャングラーに奪われた。失ったものを取り戻すために戦う怪盗、世界の平和を守るために戦う警察、君はどっちを応援する？
Hello and welcome to LupinRecap vs. PatReview, the podcast that's stirring up a storm. I am your host, Wakamasi, and with me is my co-host, Fefner Masamune.
Thought you'd never see me again, didn't you? Well, too bad. I'm still alive.
Today we are talking about episode 13 of Lupat, and we're also talking about the Hyper Battle DVD Girlfriend's Army. So instead of a full-on discussion question, I'm just going to set up some of the things that I'm going to talk about later and just get the language. I'm going to be using clear definitions as for the purposes of this podcast. I may not get it exactly right, but I'll get it right enough. In other words, I'll be consistent, so you'll know what I'm talking about.
He goes to one of them fancy lower schools. He knows what he's talking about.
So what I want to talk about is the difference between queer baiting, queer coding, and queer subtext. Also, sidebar, I'm going to be saying queer a lot. I'm sorry about that. I personally see it as like a good inclusive term, but plenty of people have bad histories with it, and that's fine. I'm going to use it because it makes my job easier. So to start with is queer baiting, which is the bad thing. This is when somebody makes a work that they say has queer characters, and they try to court a queer audience and try to brag about their good representation, and then the actual material really, really falls flat. That's not what we're talking about today, because that doesn't really happen. I just bring it up because a lot of people use it sort of interchangeably with the other two phrases, the first of which I'll go into is queer coding. Now, queer baiting can involve characters that are queer-coded, but a queer-coded character is essentially a character that has certain things we might associate with queerness that is not explicitly stated as being queer. And I think this can be used for good or for evil. The common example is the Hays Code wouldn't let you put homosexual characters in film, so you just had characters that were basically homosexual and just not say the word gay. And it was a way of getting around the censors.
Nobody paid enough attention, or at least none of the higher-ups.
And it can also, regrettably, be used to attack already marginalized groups and just pretend to play dumb. I don't want to go into specifics for this example too deeply, but persona. Just in general, I don't even need to say a number, you'll find it.
Yep. Atlas isn't great about this. Surprising no one.
And the last sort of category is queer subtext. Now, technically, queer coding is subtext, but I'm using queer coding to talk about intentional subtext, and subtext to talk about unintentional subtext. Just for the rest of this, I will not say intentional or unintentional. I will just say coding or subtext, and you'll know what I mean. Now, this one is, I think it's a little hard to criticize, because it's not the same thing as Atlas's bullshit, where they try to make a character come across as gay, and then insult them for being gay, and then say, oh, we didn't try to make them gay, it's just somebody wrote something and didn't realize what they were doing. And that can be good or bad, but I don't think it's as often bad as something like queer baiting or bad queer coding.
And honestly, it happens a lot. Like, there's so many instances of just somebody wrote really good relationships between characters of the same gender. It happens so often.
The only thing where I think people consistently come into problems is when they try to make fun of queer subtext and don't properly set up their foundations for why they're making fun of it.
Mm-hmm.
Let me give you my favorite example. Have you heard Michael Bublé's cover of Santa Baby?
No.
He calls it Santa Buddy, so it's not gay. However, the lines he delivers are still incredibly gay and might even be gayer. And he just... Now, the problem isn't that Michael Bublé made a gay version of Santa Baby. That's fine. The problem is that he didn't think it was gay, and it's not, haha, gay people, how funny that they're gay. It's, look at what straight people don't think is gay. Look at what straight. I know what straightness sounds like better than actual straight people. Because this ain't straight.
So anyway, I'm going to use this moment to talk about Kale and Caulifla because I want to. Okay, so they do the whole, oh, they just refer to each other as like sisters in arms or whatever, but like, no, absolutely not. You just see Kale reacting to Caulifla transforming into a Super Saiyan, and she's super into it, and then Cabba transforms, and she is not here anymore. She just, no. And then also, Kale transforming, Caulifla's just immediately like, oh wow, you're so buff now. This is so cool, you're great. And then Kale just immediately starts beating the shit out of Cabba. Just punches him into a mountain. And she's like, wow, neat. You'll be my first blood sacrifice. Oh wow, Kale, I knew you could do it. Anyway, there's no straight explanation for that.
No heterosexual explanation for that.
Especially at the end when she's just like, dude, I'm not jealous. Or you shouldn't be jealous. I'm not into Cabba at all. Look at this nerd. But anyway, yeah, that fits perfectly. And I did want to just talk about that real quick because they rule.
Using examples to ground this sort of talk is important because I'm not 100% sure what's going on with Umika. I don't know if it's coding or subtext. That's something maybe we can talk about. But first, we need to know what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. We need our foundation. So, Fefner, if you don't mind with the summary.
Well, first off, we got the episode title, Episode 13, The Best and Worst Day Off. Do you have an alternate title?
Unfortunately, I do not, but we both know that this episode is actually called The Best and Worst Date.
So, we begin today at the police HQ. Sakia arrives in the office and notices that Tsukasa isn't there. He enjoys a brief moment of happiness, thinking he'd made it into the office before her for once. That glee is dashed, however, as Jim informs him that because Tsukasa's been pulling so many shifts, it's her alternate day off. Sakia begins speculating what Tsukasa might do on her day off. He figures it's a date, but Kaiichiro says that the possibility of that is nearly zero. Then Jim chimes in and mentions that she was very excited for her day off, and both men look at him in surprise.
I like their discussion on if Tsukasa has a date because both of them could have been mean, but I don't think either of them were.
Not particularly, they're just like, probably not.
Yeah, he says it more like, I think Tsukasa is dating her job. She wouldn't date a person.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, she could never get a date. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah, it's unlikely, not impossible. There's a difference there. Especially when it's because of Tsukasa's decision. But anyway, cut to Tsukasa in a nice dress, saying to herself that she's excited to meet someone. Then, the intro. We come back to Hell to find the Monster of the Week greeting Degranio in person for once. Ghosh refers to her by name, Nayo Kapaja, and starts the conversation off with a casual insult. Nayo expresses frustration that Ghosh is the one who's partnered with Degranio, and informs the boss that she doesn't feel the need to be a successor. Instead, she wants to take over the human world in order to take Ghosh's place by his side. As always, Degranio's into the idea, despite the fact that it means throwing one of his most loyal servants under the bus. Well, quote-unquote loyal. Destra's the loyal one. Ghosh is there. And she does science, but loyalty, incredibly questionable. At Jure, Kairi wanders into the dining area and is surprised that they're not preparing to open. However, Umika isn't there, and Tuma knows full well that no work will be done if Kairi is the only one serving that day.
I think he says something like, I can't run this place alone, and Kairi says, well, I'm here, and Toma just looks at him.
He also informs Kairi that Umika has somewhere important to be. We return to Tsukasa, who's excitedly waiting in line. Near her is a sign showing off some kind of animal mascot. A panda, but its head is a loaf of bread. What's the one mascot that's unfortunately no longer employed, like Chiton or something like that?
Oh, I'm not sure what you're talking about. I
Like,
do know what you're talking about. I can't think of their name, but it's those, those mascot suits that are, super violent for some reason.
Yes.
But still really cute, and the violence is, slapstick.
Yes. It's not that one, whichever one that is.
God, I can't think of the name either. Also, I forget what all languages pan means bread in, but I know it's Spanish and I think Portuguese, so I think that's the pun.
Pretty sure it's French as well.
But it's also used a lot in Japanese as shorthand for bread.
Mm-hmm.
So fluffy pan, as in it's a panda with pan for a head.
Okay, that does actually make sense then. So, according to the sign, it's the last day of the plushie stamp rally, and of course, Tsukasa feels lucky that her day off came just in time for her to earn one of 2 plushies that she could rub her face all over. She approaches the counter only to ask for a ticket at the exact same time as Umika, who's also there. Not quite, Kogure levels of suddenly appearing, but close. It's just a Lupin thing, I guess.
He's rubbing off on her.
Oh no.
Unfortunate.
Both of them are shocked to see one another, Tsukasa because she doesn't want anyone she knows to see her excited about stuffed animals, and Umika because Tsukasa's a fucking cop. As they try to be pleasant with one another, the women at the ticket booth, completely unprompted, inform the 2 of them that there are no more single rally tickets. Like, at the same time. It's really
It wasn't
eerie.
unprompted. They asked for those tickets.
They didn't have to both say it at the same time.
It's weird that they, looked at each other like, alright, let's get their attention by speaking in unison, I guess.
Did they even look at each other before doing that?
No, I was assuming that was happening off screen. It's subtext, Fefner?
I think they're ghosts. They're just ghosts. They're the frickin' horror hallway ghosts.
From The Shining?
Yes, and like every other horror movie that ripped that off.
We've not operated this ticket booth for 10 years.
Play with us, Rangers. On the bright side, though, there are still couples tickets. Before the scene ends, though, Umika and Tsukasa nearly break the ticket windows. Not like spitefully or anything either, they're just so surprised they're instantly there and end up cracking the glass.
The fact that was done using, CG, post-production effects makes me wonder if somebody in the editing booth just went, hey, watch this. And just thought it looked funny. Because it's kind of weird to have done that, right?
A little bit, even if they are shocked. And so, the only course of action is for Umika and Tsukasa to purchase a couple's ticket. Of course, Umika still isn't happy to be at the amusement park with a fucking narc, but at least they both get a plushie. We then get a montage of their date, up until they reach their final attraction.
Yeah, it's like you sit in the seat and then pull yourself up using a pulley.
Okay.
But the second one is the log flume, which is important because Umika wears a goddamn poncho on a log flume, which is quite the power move, honestly.
Yeah, and it works. At the end, Tsukasa like, well, I get it.
I kind of want to try that now. There's a theme park not too far from where I live, and next summer I kind of want to show up to the log flume rides in a poncho. Just, what? I don't want to get wet.
Just stare the person you're behind dead in the eyes.
Honestly, she has an excuse, though, because she's just doing this for a prize. For me, it's incredibly insane, because I just wander onto this wet ride, hey, I don't want to get wet. But just don't go on the ride.
Spite the park. I will specifically not have this fun. I will defy momentum on this roller coaster and also fly off the car because, whoops.
Killing me instantly.
I didn't move with the car, and look where I am. Miles below, on the ground, dead. Why did I defy gravity once, but not the time it would save my life? That was a dumb idea.
I'm gonna go in the bumper cars and not bump anyone.
Be free with me, bumper car. We leave. So anyway, they get to the haunted house.
Yeah, back to the actual episode.
So Tsukasa, as serious as one could be, offers her hand to Umika in case she gets scared. But Umika has already entered. Poor Tsukasa. Maybe you can look cool later.
The Tsukasa's actress, who I have a cheat sheet now of everyone's actors. Kazusa Okayama just has some pretty great physical bits in this episode.
Yep.
She is great at just triumphant posing in completely ridiculous situations.
Just trying so hard to look cool and serious. Putting her hand out and then just, nope. Umika's already in there. But if she can look cool, though, it won't be at the haunted house. The two get jump scared, and while they both scream, Tsukasa grabs Umika by the arm and books it out of there. Despite dealing with ganglars at least once a week, if the old cliche name is to be believed, she cannot handle a haunted house. We don't get a reason as to why that might be, but we do get a flashback to a time where Umika and her friend Shiho were in a haunted house, and Shiho hugged her arm out of fear. So Umika decides to be a supportive friend and hug Tsukasa.
Yes, friend. That's what she's trying to be here.
They don't know each other that well, though, so it's a touch awkward. Not a Sakia date level of awkward, but Umika does have to explain herself. It is worth noting, Tsukasa's not, not completely into it or anything, but it's just...
It's not like, what are you, gay? It's just like, what are you doing?
So we cut back outside where Neo poofs in from out of nowhere. She uses her safe power to create a Hierophant barrier, so provided no one can stop time, she can figure out how her enemy's stand works. Okay, but seriously, nobody can get out of the park now.
I gotta call myself out because I went to make that joke. We were watching the episode and I forgot the word Hierophant. And so I just stumbled over my words for like 30 seconds before giving up.
Don't worry. I had already made that joke in my head. It's a green barrier with chains. How could you not immediately think that?
Mm-hmm.
I have to make my safe power invisible. So, theoretically, Neo can now terrorize humans without interruption from the Phantom Thieves or the Pat Rangers. In practice, though, she's still got one of each of those to deal with, especially since her first target is the haunted house. She chose the worst spot to pick twice over.
Mm-hmm.
The only worst spot would be Bistro Jour, because then she'd get 2 Lupin Rangers.
I'm just picturing a gang like, alright, time to start my assault on the city. He's right outside the police HQ. Sakia just like kicks up. Sakia just like throws open a window and shoots him with the biker from his office.
That's the gangler who really sucks. He's bad at his job. So, speaking of which, we return to Umika telling Tsukasa about Shiho, and how Umika came here to get the Fuapon plushie that she loved. But the two are startled by 2 men being thrown into the hallway, and for once it's not a planned jump scare. They inform them that a ganglar...
Kinda like that gag.
It is pretty good. They inform them that a ganglar...
They just fall on the floor, and then they just... Ah! What?
Wait, no, that wasn't planned at all. They inform them that a ganglar started attacking everyone, which is something that Tsukasa can actually handle. She asks Umika to look after the 2 men and hide away safely. Tsukasa then nods as she pulls out her versus changer, doing her best to look cool as she rushes off into danger. Umika is worried, though, as Tsukasa would likely destroy a collection piece unless she got involved. She opens the nearby door and finds herself in a dressing room. Meanwhile, Tsukasa nearly gets a sickle to the face as she encounters Nayo, who's annoyed that she still needs to fight a cop today. Tsukasa kaisatsu changes and starts grappling with Neo. Umika looks on with her makeshift disguise, which should honestly be her normal disguise from now on.
It looks really good.
It's a touch uncoordinated with her mask color-wise, but otherwise it is rad as hell.
Yeah, if she were the Red Ranger, this would be what she would wear.
God, yeah. Hey, Kairi!
Kairi, step down!
We then see the rest of the cops and thieves being called to the amusement park. During Sango's struggle, Yellow interrupts the fight, having Kaito changed off-screen. Gonna do this before I fight the ganglar.
Everyone in this episode does, except for Tsukasa.
All three fight, but Neo sees an opportunity as Yellow drags Sangu away. As those two fight, Neo throws a chain which binds the two Rangers by their arms. With nowhere to run and little room to dodge in the cramped hallway, Sangu and Yellow are both defeated and detransform. Naya moves in slowly for the kill, but Umika and Tsukasa notice an open door nearby. The two manage to work together for long enough to get past Naya and slam the door shut, though Umika's mask is damaged in the process. That is a pretty good scene. I like the choreography there, and also, worth noting, Tsukasa does blow up a thing to grab a bit of debris, which is a pipe, which she then uses to lock the door. I do love that explanation of, she doesn't just find a random thing there that she can use to lock it, but actively makes it herself. It's thinking ahead. Outside, Kaichiro and Sakia transform, but are stopped by the barrier before they can enter the park. So they start trying to shoot the thing. Back inside, Tsukasa and Yellow aren't too happy to be chained together, but they realize since their own weapons aren't working, they should use Nao's own sickle and chain against it. And worst case scenario, one of them will lose a hand trying to remove the chain, but it'll still do the job. Before they leave, though, Tsukasa collapses in pain. Yellow expresses worry, but Tsukasa says she can work through the pain because there have been so many victims already, and she doesn't want anyone else to be hurt by the Ganglars. Back outside again, Ichigo tries to use the Kaisatsu boost to break the barrier, but it fails. As he and Nigu continue trying, Red and Blue arrive on the scene as well, and decide to help, just from the back where they can't be seen. Their helicopter blade attack combines with the wheels, which gives the shot just enough power to break the barrier. After a brief victory fist pump from the Pat Rangers, they realize that a helicopter attack had joined theirs, and then the Lupin Rangers leap off their heads, making it into the park first.
Two things about this scene. I really like that the shots combine once they shoot both of them, because it ties in the whole, this is a singular collection. It's meant to work together, even though this is a Versus series. And two, when I remember this episode, Kairi does the thing that Ocelot does in Metal Gear Solid 4 when he's running away on Shadow Moses Island. That doesn't happen, but I remember him.
God.
I remember him pointing and gesturing and then running away. And none of that happens. He just jumps off the head and runs.
Elsewhere, Nayo has wandered outside of the building when Yellow and Tsukasa confront her. They fight, keeping Nayo at bay until she finally gets annoyed enough to bring out her sickle. As she tries to attack, Tsukasa and Yellow leap to the side, placing the chain in the line of attack. Nayo is then blasted back and the two Rangers almost high-five. But Yellow is the victim of the too slow, as Tsukasa remembers that they're supposed to hate each other. Tsukasa pretends that she's been using Yellow to defeat Nayo, and Yellow insists it's the other way around. Tsukasa encourages it, and the two transform. And pose, while a jazzy version of Chase You Up plays. It's a really good rendition of the song.
Yeah, the jazz is more obvious as it tends to be. Even in the version of the OP, the Lupin specific elements are more obvious than the Pat Ranger specific elements. Mm-hmm. But in addition to the saxophone or whatever jazz instrument is playing, it won't say I know exactly, there's also a really obvious electric guitar riffs being thrown in. Mm-hmm. And that ties into the Pat Ranger's rock and roll theme.
Yep.
So it's not a full set of instruments, but it is one instrument from each set from the two teams. Very bluntly symbolic of what is happening on screen, and I am here for blunt symbolism.
Yep. They fight in what might be one of my favorite choreographs yet, but there's a lot of good choreography in this show, so that's hard to say for certain.
It's easier to follow when there aren't as many.
Yeah. Also, I just really like that one shot where, Nayo's got the sickle on the wall and is just following Sango down. That is really cool. Either way, at one point, Yellow is kicked backwards and Sangu catches her. As Sangu keeps her focus off the Ganglar for a moment, Nayo decides to use her Cucumber Sickle Crash, which is a fantastic move name, and I don't know why more Ganglars don't get attack names.
She has multiple ones.
And they're so good, but this one's the best.
Her barrier is the berry berry barrier, which means like big big barrier or something.
Not just a big barrier.
Why does the shinobi running around naming her attacks? Wouldn't she be silent?
No.
Fucking Naruto. Fundamentally changing the definition of ninja forever.
But sensing danger, Yellow reveals that she had actually been using Sangu all along. Sangu is used as a human shield and slashed, de-transforming before she falls to the ground. Nio is delighted at this turn of events, but informs Yellow that it was a pointless gesture. She backs Yellow into a corner and prepares to bring the sickle down, but is shot from behind. Turning around, Neo is surprised to see Sangu standing up, not dead. As Neo is distracted, Yellow opens her safe, 904, and takes the Rock of the Prison collection piece. Tsukasa then reveals Yellow's thief mask had been hidden beneath her shirt and protected her from Nao's attack. Yellow had placed it there when she'd been thrown into Tsukasa. How she slipped it beneath both the Pat Ranger armor and her first layer of shirts, I have no clue.
And how she got it out of her own suit.
But regardless, Yellow figured Tsukasa would understand her revolver ocelot levels of trickery without needing to say a word.
I was gonna say Joseph Joestar levels of improvisation, but...
I immediately thought of Ocelot because Triple Agent got him. It was a trick! Anyway, the point is, they're good partners, but then suddenly, Blue picks up Yellow with his grapple sword and lifts her above the boomerang, which rolls along the ground and slashes through Nio, before coming back around and slashing her again. Tsukasa is knocked to the ground as Nio explodes. So, early on when it was first revealed that the swords had little grapple parts, I think we were wondering why those existed. It's for this scene.
For this scene and only this scene.
Also, I love how, as Umika's being pulled up, you hear, Kaito boost! It's the boomerang technically, but like...
Mm-hmm. I was about to say, wait, that's not a Kaito boost, that's just the sword, and then the boomerang comes in and it's like, oh, there it is.
It's so good. But anyway, yeah. In hell, Degranio feels bad for Nio and asks Ghost to give her another chance. Ghost arrives in the human world and revives Nio. Nio is now gigantic and laments the fact that she had to be revived by Ghost. Ghost just gives a little laugh for a moment while her rival monologues and pieces out.
Yeah, Ghost isn't super resistant during this scene, which is a little weird.
Yeah, I figure it's because she knows that it will piss her off more to be saved by her, and it is. Nio is very mad at this turn of events.
Mm-hmm. I think this is a situation where Nio hates Ghost more than Ghost hates Nio.
Yeah, honestly, like, the rivalry is clearly, more bitter on one side than the other. Throughout the episode, Ghost has just been like, heh, nerd. So the Pat Rangers arrive on the scene to see her leave, but then they notice Tsukasa on the ground. Good Striker wanders in and tries to have a good feeling about the Pat Rangers, but Sakia smacks him out of the way because his friend is unconscious and that's far more important. So we're getting the Lupin Kaiser today. The Lupin Kaiser and Big Nio charge towards each other, and though the Lupin Kaiser manages to gain the upper hand in the initial grapple, Big Nio uses her chain to tie it up. But of course, Red activates the Cyclone, which breaks the chain, and then Nio's face. Repeatedly. But of course, we can't just have this Cyclone do all the work on its own. It combines with the Kaiser, and they use the Good Feeling Tornado to launch Big Nio skyward. Red then equips the scissors to the Kaiser, and they use the Good Striker Hacking Slash, boosting forwards before taking off, and slashing Nio in half mid-air. Before she dies, Nio's final words are, Nio is still 16 times 10, which the translation had to tell me is a reference to an 80s song by the name of Sentimental Journey by Matsumoto Io. Wouldn't have known that, so thanks, translation team, for making the reference almost make sense. Except I still don't know Japanese, so I'll be damned if I can figure out the exact context.
Yeah, I can presume that Nayo is 160 or something, but I have unfortunate news. Overtime did not explain that at all.
Oh, jeez.
She just says, I'm still 16 times 10. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, I looked up the song, and it's a nice song, but, like, I couldn't find the translated lyrics, so...
I was going to say, it's possible that Overtime just didn't know, and that's fine, because they're a fan group. I shouldn't expect them to know everything. But it's the very rare, like, slam dunk that TV no Hone has over Overtime for this episode.
Yeah.
Because normally Overtime is better.
But, yeah, I listened to the song, and I don't know Japanese, so the only thing I understood from the song is Sentimental Journey, because that part is in English, but that doesn't help me at all. So, everyone goes home for the day. Umika returns de jour to find the cops are there. Like eating there, not doing cop things there. Tsukasa is relieved to see that Umika is unharmed, but she faceplants on the table as she recalls passing out before the fight ended. Perhaps one day she'll be cool in front of Umika. But Umika, carrying 2 bags, mentions that she'd gotten 2 plushies. Tsukasa's delighted as Umika hands her one of them. She opens the bag to find that the bread-headed panda from earlier is in there, and her expression goes blank. A now worried Umika is informed that Tsukasa didn't want that plushie. As it turns out, the other plushie on the sign, which had been conveniently blocked from sight by someone else's head, was a terrible potato-headed, sad pig, Jagaton.
Overtime actually translated the pun, and his name is Pork-tato.
Now that actually works. Tsukasa returns to her faceplant position as Umika is left pondering Tsukasa's wide range of aesthetic interests.
Also, Fluffy Pond is joining her in faceplanting on the table.
Yeah.
And Saki is just kind of awkwardly petting it.
Yeah, he tries to lift it up, but it just goes back down.
I love that so much.
So, are we moving on to Girlfriend's Army, or are we discussing this one first?
I can give you a bit of a break, except, I usually try to talk to you during these parts anyway, so
Yeah.
we can go into talking about this episode.
All
So we can
right.
start with the Ganglar.
I liked Nayo. She's pretty good.
Yeah, she's very cool. I'm not sure why she has a really obvious lion face and then doesn't do any lion-like things and instead makes cucumber jokes.
Apparently she's an otter.
Oh.
I look up the Ganglars that do die within their own episode just so I know what their treasure name is. But I also happen to see, she's some kind of otter.
Time to cut out the word lion from this podcast. So I don't look the fool.
To be fair, I also thought it was like a lion or a tiger or something when I actually watched the episode.
Mm-hmm.
It does look faintly lion-esque, but yeah, cool design, very charismatic Ganglar, but also legitimately threatening as well.
Yeah, I like that she had a plan.
Yep, she had
Instead
a good
of
plan.
just... What was Jenko's plan? Huh? What was Blitz's plan?
Well, Janko's just gonna run around real fast. He was gonna impress Degranio because the power he got from the treasure he was given made him fast.
I mean, Nayo's plan still has some obvious steps missing of what were you going to do after this amusement park? Were you just going to show up in a different place, make a second barrier?
Yeah,
and just depopulate the Earth by killing everyone individually while keeping the Fat Ranger and Lupin Rangers out?
I mean, I guess just terrorize everyone individually. She's from the Hell Mob, it's fine. But yeah, not too fancy with the powers. Her her barrier was useful and definitely helped her for a bit, but otherwise her only other power was just the sickle and chain, which, again, really effective, pretty cool.
And it can do magic stuff. It's not like Peggy, who just had a sword.
Yeah.
And that sword didn't really do anything.
Or Jaws, who just had a weapon.
Well, he could teleport.
Wasn't that a safe power, though?
No, his safe power was to change what things looked like. So he disguised his mouths as plushies.
Okay,
But the mouth thing was something he could do on his own, because he did it during his big fight.
That's right, yeah. But yeah, I also do like how she has, like, a really cool degree of interaction with, like, the recurring Ganglars. Because she has a rivalry with Ghosh that they never get into, but it's apparent enough. And also the fact that she doesn't want to become Degranio's successor.
Yeah, that might be my favorite thing about not my favorite thing, but one of the really cool things about the Ganglars is like how they have the obvious setup and obvious motivation, but they're still willing to play with it.
Yeah.
Like, some Ganglars don't destroy the city. Some Ganglars don't really want to be successors. But they'll still get into fights.
She just really hates Ghosh, so she wants to replace her.
So fucking mad at this bone boob bimbo.
I guess maybe she didn't need to depopulate the entirety of Earth. Just kill enough people to impress Degranio. So...
Well, just the crowd's like, well, given enough time, you would have succeeded. So I will just cut to the chase. Alright. So, the two main things I want to talk about with this episode. Umika and Tsukasa. Umika is the bigger thing, but I feel like I have less concrete stuff about her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, watching this episode was where it, like... Or rewatching this with you was where it clicked in my head of like, oh, Umika has queer subtext.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to spoil too much, but there is a point where, like, she very... In the future episode where she, like, you could reasonably interpret her as, like, hitting on a girl.
Mm-hmm.
Like, another character... Like, the girl is flirting with one of the male cast. The male cast doesn't respond, and Umika shows up like, oh, typical boy, too boneheaded to know when they're being flirted with. Anyways, hi, I'm Umika. It's just, like, immediately moves in on her. It's like, oh... And then in this episode, not just the fact that she hugged Tsukasa, but the really, like, loving way that she held Tsukasa made me think, like, oh, that's not a friendly hug. That's a lover's embrace. Or, like, one of the lovers isn't super into it.
Yeah, so...
And I'm worried... I'm giggling a lot because I'm a bit of a nervous giggler, and I'm not 100... I feel like I don't have a real... like, tour de force slam dunk to say, like, and this is why she's definitely gay, but I'm pretty sure she's gay.
Yeah, there's just a lot of... She mostly, like, interacts with women a lot of the time. Like, that's a major part of her backstory.
Yeah, like... I'm a little quick to see any queer subtext as being bi, because I am bi, and I'm selfish, and I like to see myself in other characters, but no, I think Umika is a lesbian.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate doing the, like, well, she doesn't like Sakia, so she must be a lesbian, but I think that's part of it.
On
the
its
fact that
own, that wouldn't have been, like, concrete, because it is Sakia, and doesn't seem like he's great on a date.
Yeah. But, tie that in with the way that she interacts with Tsukasa in this episode, and her actions in a later episode. Yeah, I don't think Umika is straight.
And also...
Pretty sure she's a lesbian.
The actress in the other episode, whose name I've forgotten, she was... Or, not actress,
the jeweler?
Yeah, the jeweler.
Emma Gordini?
Yeah, she was super into, like, Emma's stuff.
Yeah, like, there's no male celebrity she fawns over. I don't know if there are any more female celebrities, but there's no, like, hot actor or something that she fawns over.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if they're just, like... Alright, time to cordon off the women and have them do women things, like in this episode where we have our first female Gangler, I think. It's not Ghosh.
Yeah.
And it's just, oops, we made her gay.
Yeah. And then meanwhile, God, like everything Tsukasa did in this episode, I realized, like on the second watch, my interpretation is just she's trying really hard to be cool in front of Umika.
But with Tsukasa, she has non-queer subtext that I think is a bit more concrete, and I feel more comfortable saying, like, this is probably what they were going for. So they introduced the idea that she's afraid of haunted houses, but she's not afraid of the Ganglars. And then in a later scene, when she, like, acts despite being injured, she reveals that she is afraid of what the Ganglars have done and can do.
Yeah.
So if we take what she is afraid of and what she isn't afraid of and compare them, we see the Ganglars are things that she can fight, can stop, and can kill.
Probably shouldn't do that to a haunted house staff.
Right, the haunted house workers she can't fight back.
She can't murder them in cold blood.
And killing the Ganglars doesn't undo the harm they've done. And if she doesn't kill them fast enough, she can't prevent the harm from being caused in the first place. So she's afraid of what she can't control and what she can't fight. A Ganglar can kill her, but they have to beat her first, and that makes her feel more comfortable, because who the hell can beat Tsukasa?
Nobody.
Meanwhile, haunted house workers are allowed to cheat, because if you punch them, they'll sue.
I love describing that as cheating.
You're right, that may be a little weird, but, like, they're able to get under her skin and scare her, despite not being a threat, because they're able to take away her ability to fight back, even though she wouldn't need it. And that's cheating. Yes.
That is actually a pretty cool character detail that I didn't really put together.
I mean, I could be making it up.
No, that's a valid interpretation.
I always approach media as everything is done on purpose, and I will not attain. Well, this isn't actually true, but I try not to attribute any single person for a decision. So I try and talk about, like, the show instead of the director or the writer. I still think the marketing department's to blame for a lot of things, but it's the department, not the marketing head.
Yeah.
I'm not here to play the blame game. Well, I'm not here to blame individuals.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make sense of what's been put in front of me. So anyways, that was the subtext of this episode. Yumika's gay, Tsukasa hates feeling useless.
Yep.
But now for our extra long episode.
Alright, so, part 2 of discussion. This one will be a bit shorter because the DVD special is only 15 minutes long.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about what this even is. The Hyper Battle DVDs are just mini episodes that are released for Sentai. I don't think it encompasses, like, all Sentai DVDs, because there are other mini episodes that aren't called Hyper Battle DVDs. But usually a Hyper Battle DVD will be, like, an extra fight with the Red Ranger, and only the Red Ranger.
Yeah, this is a specific character-focused episode.
Yeah, I think this is a better use of them, because the Red Rangers tend to be held up, I don't want to say too much, but held up a lot by the main show anyways.
Yeah. So
using this to focus on secondary characters is probably a better use.
Yep, such as Suki, Tsukasa, and Umika. So, after an introduction to the two characters from the show that we'll be seeing today, we open up on the Police HQ. Again. I don't know why dates always start the episode of the Police HQ, but whatever. Tsukasa is showing the office to a young girl who's excited to be there. The girl is allowed to start taking pictures around the room and does so happily. Tsukasa, of course, notices the plushie toy she has. The girl informs Tsukasa that this is Kumamu, a gift from her friend. Tsukasa asks to see it, and the girl gives it to her, not knowing what this entails.
I was about to say a foolish mistake.
At the very least, Tsukasa is able to restrain herself enough to not rub someone else's toy against her face. She just imagines doing it a lot. It's still awkward because she's staring at it dreamily. The girl, avid journalist she is, writes down that Tsukasa likes cute things. Rather than asking her if she's interested in trying a glass of Montedillo, Tsukasa just requests that she never tell a soul about what she just wrote. Also,
Not
fuck
that
it's
she
a
would
month
just kill
widow.
this child, but kill her in like one of the most brutal, intense ways. One of the most fear-inducing ways.
Also, it's actually a Amontillado, damn it. I mispronounced the name. Oh no.
I have a lot more stuffed animals in my basement that I keep next to my cask of Amontillado.
Tsukasa reminisces about a time where she and a friend wrote for a school newspaper, but then the girl gets sad. To brighten the mood, Tsukasa offers to buy her lunch. Hard cut over to a fight between Yellow and a Ganglar who looks suspiciously like Peggy. He's got a sword and everything.
He's here to avenge his brother.
While he fights her alone, Not Peggy laments that a phantom thief found him so quickly, preventing him from blowing up the publisher Shogu-Con. He tries to get away, but Yellow trips him and opens up his safe, 780, and finds nothing. Not Peggy happily reveals that he's the only Ganglar not to receive a collection piece from Degranio. That's right, we found the guy who sucks so much that even Degranio didn't bother with him.
I'm the guy who sucks, plus I don't have a collection piece.
To be fair, actually, he laughs about it until he starts crying.
Isn't there like a title card pops up like
Yes.
the guy who sucks so much?
The man who doesn't have a collection piece. And he's just initially laughing, and then he just breaks down. As Yellow deals with him, Tsukasa and the girl, who we finally reveal the name of, it's you, and naturally, she can't allow a phantom thief and a Ganglar to get away unshot. Shikaisatsu changes, and all three fight. However, you can't resist getting pictures of the fight. After getting a lucky shot and launching both Yellow and Sangu backwards, the guy who sucks notices Yu's plush and steals it from her. He places Kumamu in his safe and makes a very ridiculous escape. Yu is upset and she shouts that she can't tell her friend about that she lost her Kumamu. Back at Jur, Tuma must be out sick because he's not there. Kairi, of course, I could believe wouldn't show up at work even if it weren't a DVD special that only used specific characters. But Tsukasa has taken Yu there to sulk. Umika offers to make her a new Kumamu, but Yu refuses. Kumamu was a gift from a friend, and even worse, Yu had gotten into an argument with that friend because she focuses far too much on her newspaper. So, yeah, not a good look losing your friend's gift for the exact reason she currently hates you for. Tsukasa wants to get it back, but only a phantom thief can open up one of those safes, and Yu thinks it'll be impossible for a cop and a phantom thief to work together. Umika tells Tsukasa that she could ask a phantom thief to help, but Tsukasa also thinks it'll be impossible. Umika insists that if you explain the situation, one of them would help her, or so she guesses that they will. It's not like she knows for sure. She's definitely not a phantom thief, not at all. Umika just believes the phantom thief's abilities to be reasonable.
This is after Tsukasa, like, point blank accused them of being phantom thieves.
Thankfully, though, she kind of forgot about that incident. Later that night at Police HQ, Tsukasa's alone at work, wondering how she can recover Kumamu. Yellow chimes in and waves from the windowsill. Tsukasa asks why she's there, and Umika just mentions that she was worried about that girl from earlier and that she must be worried about her toy. Which is definitely just a lucky guess. Phantom Thief intuition. You know how it is. Seriously though, Umika might actually be worse at hiding her identity than Kairi. Kairi's just kind of a smug asshole from time to time. Umika's just entirely too friendly.
Yeah, Kairi's not even really bad at it. It's sort of like... It's more like he does Shakespearean soliloquies, where he faces the camera and says what he's thinking. I don't know if it's supposed to be diegetic. Umika is 100% within the universe, ruining everything.
Well,
every opportunity.
With Kairi, it's just he tries to antagonize the cops, like, right after a run-in with the Phantom Thieves. Just gonna go over and make fun of them coincidentally after a bad thing happens. It hasn't happened in a while, though, but anyway, changing the subject, she mentions that she can open the Ganglar's safe. Tsukasa decides to swallow her pride and attempt to ask Yellow for help, and Yellow agrees to help the moment Tsukasa opens her mouth, because she is just far too excited about this. Also, they are both very cute, as Tsukasa's just like, I haven't even asked you yet, and then they both smile and laugh. The next day, we find the guy who sucks skipping along the road, singing to himself. He also reveals his name, Nonpario Penguino, but I'm going to keep calling him the guy who sucks.
I wish I knew which Akewood character said that or had that shirt, so that I could just call him that, but I don't actually know anything about Akewood besides that comic.
I don't either. Suddenly, he notices a stuffed cat just lying there on the ground. And also, that cat is really cute, and it meows when he picks it up, and that's adorable.
I just remembered this scene. She's describing it.
And then a whole line of cute stuffed animals for him to pick up is just behind it. Yu happens across him and decides to follow along. At last, the guy who sucks picks up Bread Panda, whose name I've already forgotten. Fuapan.
Fluffy Pond.
Yeah, Fluffy Pond. Only to find he was led into a trap by Yellow and Tsukasa. The two transform with no music to back it up whatsoever, which does take a lot of the impact out.
I will edit in Russian roulette.
The song that follows it up is cool, but yeah, just when they actually transform, it's just nothing.
Yeah, it's not even like a muted song, it's dead silent, isn't it?
Yeah, it's dead silent, which would work in like a given scene that's supposed to be like kind of serious, but not this one. This one's supposed to be cool. Also,
when Umika is introduced in this scene, she is like sitting on top of a wall like 8 feet above Tsukasa.
Yep.
And I like to imagine there is an extended conversation of Tsukasa trying to get her to come down because she might hurt herself.
No, it's fine, it's cool, I do this all the time.
Well, they know I'm in charge if I don't pose.
So, Yellow refers to Kumamu as a one-of-a-kind treasure, which Yu, watching from the background, realizes was a thing that Umika said back at Juror. The guy who sucks and also he's got no stuffed animals continues being confounded about how a phantom thief and a cop would work together. They really want to hammer that point home.
Yeah.
Anyway, they fight. Also, there's some dialogue revolving around that stuffed animal that's fairly uncomfortable. Few too many double entendres or whatever. It's, meh.
Novertime hasn't subbed this, so I don't know if this is TV Nahon's fault.
I feel like it would be an original thing. I feel like it's too specific.
Yeah, I don't want to, like, I should clarify, it probably is in the original text, but it's one of those things where, like, since I don't speak Japanese, I don't know if it was this obvious.
Yeah.
Or if it was more muted.
Either way, Yellow and Sangu use the Girl's Heartbreak attack in which they launch the wheel and the copter blade. It is pretty cool. Not literally, because the guy who sucks explodes, which would be very hot.
I forgot it was called that, which is interesting, because that move was introduced with Kairi and Keishiro doing it.
It's slightly different because, like, in that version, like, it all combined, but here they're actually, like, completely separate.
Okay.
The wheel and the copter blades, like, roll different ways and hit him from both sides.
Okay. That's weird that when they're actually actively working together, they don't combine, but when they're secretly working together, they do.
That is weird, actually. But I guess it synchronizes, we'll say.
Yeah, it works well enough. I just don't think they weren't trying to, like, the series isn't sold on the subtext of the way the VS vehicles interact, so
yeah,
it's not like a bad thing. It's just weird.
It was sneaky before since it combined, so they didn't immediately realize it was a copter combining with their attack. There, saved it. So anyway, Ghosh does not arrive to bring him back because Degranio still could not give a fuck.
I didn't even think about that.
I just like to imagine down in hell, it's like, oh, Penguin 2 died. You want to bring... No.
That would have been amazing if just Destro was like, well, Degranio, it looks like Penguino has perished, and Degranio takes a very long sip from his wine glass and goes, good, and then it cuts back. But the point of these is to save costs on actors, so they probably weren't even on set, but oh my god.
Yellow and Sangu high five and realize that they're not friends at all and shouldn't do that. They banter and Yellow vanishes before Sangu can get the last word in. Back at Shur, Tsukasa charges in and shows Umika that she's recovered Kumamu. However, there was a slight tear which Umika offers to fix. Yu then enters the restaurant and thanks Tsukasa for saving her toy. Umika moves to leave to fix it, but before she can go, Yu walks over and whispers, "Thank you, Miss Thief." Thankfully, this child is trustworthy because she could blackmail both the thieves and the cops now. Really, if she played her cards right, she could end up as Degranio's successor, but she won't use her investigative skills for evil. She just wants Umika to know that she knew.
I made the joke when we watched this if I wanted Toma to be in the kitchen and just loudly dropping everything he's holding.
He is just there.
And then just hard cut to credits after that. Like, that would have been a hilarious moment, but there's no real way to follow it up.
It's just like a survival horror game over. The monster's just instantly there and then bang, it's over. Yu mentions that Kumamu was already damaged as it was and asks to learn how to sew so she can fix it herself. Tsukasa also chimes in and asks to learn a little bit of sewing as well. Umika of course accepts, and as we close out the episode, we hear Yu narrate a letter to Tsukasa and Umika. Yu made up with her friend, and she hopes that one day the Phantom Thieves and Pat Rangers can get along. Also, we just have a scene of like Tsukasa and Umika both going to give her a response, and it's just a really cute way to end the episode.
Yeah, this is a cute little video. I do like it, but I mentioned when we watched this, I feel like it is the more obviously kiddie episode.
Which is weird tonally with the jokes they make about the Ganglar at the end.
Yeah, you sort of gloss over it, and I'm not judging you for it. I agree. I wouldn't want to repeat that either. But the joke they set up is really weird.
Yeah.
The only explanation I could think of is that a kid wouldn't think of that.
Yeah, it is the kind of,
It's like the whole, like how many kids media have, the threat is the bad guy is going to force this woman to marry him. And as a kid, you're just like, oh no, she'll have to spend the rest of her life with him. And then you learn what sex is, and it's like, oh fuck, oh my god.
Oh no.
Oh good lord. And maybe that's what they were going for. Like a kid would go, oh no, she's going to be kidnapped. But as an adult, it's just really creepily shot.
Yeah.
Like they could have done more to not make it as creepy.
Yeah.
But I don't want to talk about that, so...
Yeah. I got the joke they were going for, but thankfully I did, immediately realize, oh, he's gonna go for the stuffed animal.
Mm-hmm. I also absolutely adore him being led away by the trail of stuffed animals.
Yes. God.
And not... just... Sometimes the idea is so stupid you have to do it.
Yep. And sometimes the Ganglar is so stupid they fall for it.
Mm-hmm. As far as, theming goes... I guess it's neat that they managed to make you reflect on both Tsukasa and Umika.
Yeah.
But not exactly. She's not a pure reflection of their backstories. Like, she doesn't want to be a police officer, she wants to be a reporter.
Yeah.
But she's still, works hard and puts her all into it like Tsukasa does. She actually has kind of a rocky relationship with her friend, but, she still cares about her, and she's worried about losing her. Like, Umika lost her friend.
Yep.
So I felt like that was probably the most subtle thing about this episode, and I feel like by just calling it subtle, somebody's going to be mad at me, but, I said most subtle, not subtle.
Comparatively.
There has to be a best kind of mold to have in your house, but it doesn't mean it's a good mold. This was the most subtle. It doesn't necessarily mean it was subtle. Although, when you started talking about the safe, I did remember something about Nayo that I wanted to call attention to. Once Umika takes the collection out of her safe, she fucking fires into the empty safe.
Yep, I forgot
Which
about that.
I don't think we've seen before this.
Yeah, it just reflects off it a whole lot.
And then she goes flying.
Yep.
It's like, don't mess with the safe. It does bad things. I guess that one Ganglar had the biker shot in his safe.
Mm-hmm. But
He just told him I didn't have time to close it. I don't know how much this DVD costs, so I can't say if it's a good buy or not, but it's an okay episode to watch.
What are you talking about? We both definitely watched it legally.
Oh yeah, I'm holding the copy right now.
Yep, we both definitely know where to and did buy it.
Yeah, it was a gift sent to me from my friend in Japan, whose name is redacted for privacy reasons. Yeah, that's it. Alright, well, this episode is already incredibly long. And there wasn't a whole lot to talk about in Girlfriend's Army.
Yeah, the Ganglar's kind of self-explanatory. He was very goofy, and he was also a recolor, but that he had two good jokes compared to, I guess they would be technically two bad jokes, the one at the beginning and then just the string of them at the end.
I mean, you could argue it's the same joke, but I think jokes should be measured by time spent on the joke, not instances of joke.
Either way, though, half good, half bad.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if, the writing team is just better at writing, episode length. You cut their time in half, and, all of a sudden the story, you just explains what happens.
Yep.
It makes me wonder if this was a full episode, would they have just, had a flashback and shown the kids fighting?
Yeah, probably. I think they'd go a little more in-depth with that.
I think that, they actually use their budget well, and when you take it away from them to make something on the cheap like this is, and I don't mean that disparagingly, this is just, it's supposed to be a cheap episode sold cheaply, but when you take the budget away from them, they kind of don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of just talking where they normally would at least try to show.
Yep.
But honestly, it's all worth it for the shot of Umika posing seductively on the windowsill, addressing Tsukasa.
Yep. Actually, yeah, you know what, this is... The reason we did both of these in a single episode is because both episodes work well together, because it's just Umika and Tsukasa being cute at each other.
Yeah, and canon-wise, this is the earliest Girlfriend's Army could have been was after episode 13.
Yeah, because they've, actually interacted a little more, both on and off the job, and also Fuapan was there.
Yeah, Fuapan was there, and I think they referenced working together before.
Yeah.
Which I guess could have been episode 3, but I wouldn't count that.
Nah. But yeah, I do like the interaction between those two.
It's called Girlfriend's Army. They're each other's girlfriend, obviously. I mean, what else could that title refer to?
Yep. So, I think, despite the fact that they didn't use any of the other actors, the interaction between them is pretty good.
Yeah, I really like the way that the Rangers interact with each other.
Yeah.
A lot of times, so I've heard, the Ranger interaction will be like Red interacts with everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And just by having two Reds, they've already, changed the way they would address even that. But even, here, we have Tsukasa and Umika interacting.
Yeah, I do like the way like they're split so that certain groups only initially interact with one another, but now we have a bit more crossing over, other than just Sakia having a crush on Umika or Kairi just harassing Kaiichiro in the park.
And even like Toma and Umika interacting
Yeah.
from time to time when Kairi's not there. And Tsukasa and Sakia interacting. Keiichiro's usually there, but he's not necessarily the focus of the conversation. But yeah, that is the thing I like the most about this little hyper battle DVD is not the hyper battle, but the character interaction.
Yeah, the battle's just sort of there.
Yeah, it's not bad, and it has like a cool finishing shot.
Yep. But
And the setup is good.
Umika and Tsukasa OTP. That's the point we're trying to get at.
Yes. Please, in the finale of this show, let's Umika reject Sakia and ask Tsukasa out. Tsukasa doesn't even have to say yes, just please give me this.
They finally high five, and then everyone just knows.
They high five and share a longing look. I will forgive episode 11 if that happens.
Alright, so, I guess with that, we're probably just doing predictions then.
If you have any, yeah.
Uh,
Oh, yeah, you freaked out over the next episode preview.
I'm not going to talk about that too much since, that's the episode preview.
Yeah, we try not to cover those, but we do see them.
Yep, other than that one time that I mentioned Dasher and how I was pretty sure he was alive, and I was sort of right, just not about the method. I usually don't talk about him too much, but I did have one weird thought. So, we've had, of course, the Reds interact a lot, Kairi and Kaiichiro, and, we've had a bit of Umika Sakia, but also now we're getting Umika and Tsukasa. When are Tuma and Sakia gonna start interacting? The two personalities that don't fit together at all. I just realized, well, we have a bunch of parallels already, but who's Tuma paralleled with? It was initially sort of Tsukasa, since, they were both the mature members, but, now Umika and Tsukasa are dating, so... This isn't even really a prediction, this is me just being like, fuck, now I want this. I still think
of Toma as Tsukasa's opposite.
Yeah, definitely. But now that it's different, now I just want to see that. I want to see Tuma react to any of Sakia's shit.
Yeah, part of the thing is that Toma hates the police more than anyone.
Yep.
And he just sort of doesn't want to deal with them. Because there's plenty of interaction between him and his teammates, but, he goes the most quiet when the police are in the shop.
Yep.
Everything is strictly business, and even then he's probably a little quieter than he ought to be.
Also, I'd just like to throw in, it's a good thing it was Umika in this episode, because that moment where it seems like she's betrayed Tsukasa, Tuma would have just done that for real.
Tuma would have shot her himself.
He would have slashed.
Toma would have never gotten out of... Oh my god, imagine this, but instead of Tsukasa and Umika, it's Toma and Sakia. Next episode, replacing the two rangers that shot each other dead.
Tuma uses a stand, Grateful Dead, ages Sakia, shoots him.
Alright, well, I will try to draw this mega episode to a close. Because, dear lord...
Good luck with this one.
But if you want to follow us on Twitter, we are at LRVSPR. Fefner is at Fefner Masamune. If you want to send us an email, we are LupinRecap@gmail.com. We will see you in the next episode. Adieu.